Admiral Victoria Vix Thompson stared at the quantum display floating above her coffee mug, her reflection ghosting across streams of data that shouldn't exist. The signal had appeared 20 minutes ago, a massive hyperspace rupture at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. The aliens weren't even trying to hide their arrival. They're scanning everything. Lieutenant Roberts reported from his station, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Radio signals, satellite networks, power grids. Hell, they're even analyzing our television broadcasts. Vix allowed herself a small smile. Let them look. Everything they're seeing is exactly what we want them to see. Project Nightshade had been her life's work for the past 15 years. While the world's governments publicly squabbled over lunar mining rights and Mars colonies, her team had been building something far more important, a carefully crafted illusion of human technological development. The massive alien vessel now parking itself in high orbit was about to become their first real test. "Signal incoming," Roberts announced. "They're broadcasting in." Jesus, that's a lot of languages. The alien transmission filled every screen in the Quantum Defense Initiative's underground command center. The message was simple, elegant, and terrifying in its certainty. Earth had been selected for integration into the hegemony of 1,000 suns. Resistance was unnecessary. Submission was inevitable. They had 30 solar cycles to prepare for absorption into the Empire. "Well," Vix said, taking a sip of her now cold coffee, "they certainly don't lack confidence." The command center erupted in controlled activity. This was the moment they'd prepared for since the first quantum telescopes had detected the Empire's expansion pattern 2 decades ago. Every satellite, every seemingly outdated space station, every piece of apparently primitive human technology was part of an elaborate deception. Dr. Carson, status of the quantum mesh. A tall woman with steel-gray hair looked up from her console. "The mesh is holding, Admiral. Their scans are only seeing what we want them to see. As far as they can tell, we're still arguing about whether dark matter exists." Vix nodded and opened a secure channel to the UN Security Council. The faces of world leaders appeared around her in a virtual circle, their expressions ranging from concern to carefully masked fear. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "the hegemony has arrived exactly as predicted. Their preliminary assessment matches our projections. They believe we're a Category 3 civilization, barely worth a proper invasion force." The President of the United States leaned forward. "And our actual capabilities? Completely hidden, sir. The quantum mesh is functioning perfectly. They have no idea that we can see through their cloaking systems, or that we've already mapped their entire command structure through quantum entanglement monitoring." The Chinese premier's hologram flickered. "What about Project Nightshade? Are we ready?" Vix gestured, and a new display materialized in the center of the virtual meeting. It showed Earth, surrounded by an intricate web of quantum-shifted defensive systems, technology that existed partially in other dimensions, completely invisible to conventional scanning methods. "Nightshade is fully operational," she confirmed. "Every satellite they're dismissing as primitive communication technology is actually a node in the most advanced defensive network ever created. We could have the entire system online in less than 3 minutes." "And they suspect nothing?" the Indian Prime Minister asked. "Nothing at all. Their assessment protocols are exactly what we expected. Rigid, hierarchical, and completely unable to conceive of technological development following a different path than their own. They're looking for signs of traditional space combat capability. Instead, we focused on quantum computing, dimensional shifting, and neural interface technology." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's greatest achievement wasn't reaching for the stars. It was reaching sideways, developing technologies the hegemony had never imagined possible. "Very well, Admiral Thompson," the UN Secretary-General said after a moment. "Proceed with Phase 1. Let them think we're scrambling to respond to their ultimatum. Let them think we're scared, divided, and primitive." Vix nodded, a predatory smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Yes, sir. We'll give them exactly what they expect to see, right up until the moment we show them exactly what they missed. As the holograms faded, she turned back to her team. Send the official response. Tell them Earth needs time to consider their generous offer. And make sure to let them catch glimpses of our secret military communications, the ones showing panic and disarray. The deception was set. Now they just had to wait for the Empire to make its next predictable move. Above, in orbit, the Hegemony's assessment vessel recorded everything its sensors could detect, its AI systems cataloging another routine conquest in progress. None of its crew noticed that their supposedly unbreakable quantum encryption was already compromised, their every communication monitored by systems they couldn't even detect. The Empire had never failed to conquer a Category 3 civilization. But then again, they'd never encountered one that was only pretending to be Category 3. Dr. James Wildcard Mitchell adjusted his worn leather boots under the negotiation table, looking for all the world like he'd just stepped off his Wyoming ranch, rather than out of the most advanced quantum training simulator ever built. The Hegemony's diplomatic vessel loomed above him, its cavernous meeting chamber designed to intimidate with sweeping crystalline arches and hovering displays of the Empire's military might. "So let me get this straight," he drawled, watching the alien delegation's subtle reactions through his neural interface. "Y'all have conquered nearly 250 civilizations, and not a single one ever gave you trouble." The chief assessor, a tall being with iridescent scales and multiple sets of eyes, managed to convey both amusement and condescension in its translated response. "Precisely, Dr. Mitchell. The Hegemony's integration protocols are perfectly optimized. Resistance has proven mathematically pointless." Behind his carefully crafted facade of rural charm, James's quantum-enhanced mind was processing thousands of data points. Major Amanda Drake's team was already deep inside the Hegemony's networks, their quantum infiltration programs masquerading as routine system noise. "Well, that's mighty impressive," James said, leaning back in his chair. "Mind walking me through how exactly these protocols of yours work? Just so I can explain it proper-like to our leadership." The chief assessor launched into a detailed explanation of the Empire's glorious history, exactly as James had predicted. These beings couldn't resist an opportunity to demonstrate their superiority. Through his neural link, he received Major Drake's status update. CAC progress at 47%. Their encryption is complex, but they never expected anyone to approach it from a quantum angle. Every time they brag, their systems open up a little more. Keep them talking, Wildcard. James spun his coffee cup, playing up his contemplative rancher act. Now about these terms of surrender. 30 days seems a mite rushed. Our planetary council moves slower than molasses in January. Couldn't we maybe stretch that timeline a bit? The alien delegation exchanged looks of amused tolerance. The secondary assessor, its crystalline form shifting colors, spoke up. "Your primitive governmental systems are precisely why the Hegemony's guidance is necessary. However, we are magnanimous. The standard 30 cycles shall remain, but we will be patient with your internal deliberations." 58% penetration. Drake's update whispered in James's mind. Their command protocols are hierarchical. Everything flows through their central quantum network, which they thought was unhackable. 15 more minutes of this, and we'll own their entire communication system. James scratched his chin thoughtfully. "Well, that's right, generous of you. Say, these ships of yours, they run on quantum field manipulation, don't they? Our scientists have been trying to figure that out for years. Been watching your ships zip around through our telescopes, trying to make sense of it all." The chief assessor practically glowed with superiority. "Your primitive quantum theories aren't even close to understanding our technological advancement. Your species' attempts to comprehend our achievements are endearing." 73% penetration. Keep them gloating, Wildcard. James chuckled self-deprecatingly. "Can't argue with that. We're still trying to figure out if quantum entanglement could ever be used for communication. Don't suppose you'd give us a hint?" The alien delegation's amusement was palpable. The chief assessor launched into a condescending explanation of why quantum communication was theoretically impossible, completely unaware that Earth had mastered it decades ago. 89% penetration. Almost there. Their entire military network is about to be an open book. James stood up, stretching casually. Well, I should probably get back and report to our leaders. They're gonna need time to process all this. You've given us a lot to think about. The chief assessor rose as well, its towering form casting shadows. Remember, Dr. Mitchell, 30 cycles. We await your species' wise decision to join the glory of the hegemony. As James's transport shuttle descended back to Earth, Major Drake's final update came through. 100% penetration achieved. We own their networks. Every ship, every communication, every secret they thought was safe. It's all ours now. Ready to proceed with Phase 2. James smiled, finally dropping his carefully maintained mask of rural simplicity. Send word to Admiral Thompson. Tell her the hegemony's just as arrogant as we hoped they'd be. They never suspected that every confused question, every display of ignorance, was carefully calculated to make them reveal exactly what we needed to know. The Empire had just handed Earth the keys to its own destruction, all because they couldn't imagine that a primitive species could outthink them. Their greatest weakness wasn't their technology. It was their absolute certainty in their own superiority. Phase 2 could now begin. Colonel Michael Ghost Rodriguez stood in the control center of what the hegemony believed to be an obsolete space station. Their massive ships hung in high orbit, a constant reminder of their presence and their arrogance. Through the quantum-enhanced windows, he could see their patrol vessels conducting routine scans of Earth's primitive orbital infrastructure. Status of Operation Phantom, he asked, his neural interface displaying real-time updates from every station in Earth's defense network. Lieutenant Kate Circuit Anderson's hands danced across her neural interface controls, her eyes glazed with the telltale shimmer of deep quantum connection. All systems primed, sir. Every satellite, station, and defense platform is ready for the shift. The hegemony's still seeing exactly what we want them to see, a scattered collection of outdated technology. Ghost allowed himself a small smile. Time to show them what Earth's been hiding. Begin quantum shift on my mark. The command center hummed with anticipation. Years of preparation, decades of secret technological development, all leading to this moment. Through his neural feed, Ghost could feel the readiness of his crews, each operator linked into the quantum network that was humanity's greatest achievement. 3, 2, 1, mark. The transformation was beautiful in its precision. What appeared to be normal communications satellites rippled, quantum fields shifting to reveal their true nature. Weapon systems emerged from dimensional pockets, defense platforms materializing from seemingly empty space. Earth's orbital defense grid, hidden in plain sight, finally showed its true face. Hegemony vessels are responding. Circuit reported, her consciousness spread across multiple drone control interfaces. Their sensors are going crazy trying to process what they're seeing. They had no idea we could manipulate quantum fields at this level. Ghost watched through the quantum feed as Earth's real space fleet emerged. The hegemony had dismissed their ships as primitive chemical rockets. Now they saw the truth, vessels equipped with quantum drive systems, far more advanced than anything the Empire had developed. Their tactical networks are lighting up, Circuit announced, her voice tight with concentration, as she coordinated the neural-linked pilot teams. They're trying to figure out how we hid all this from their scans. Their command ships are calling for reinforcements. Let them, Ghost replied, watching the defensive grid power up. Every ship they send will just give us more targets to practice on. Status of the drone swarms. Circuit's lips curved in a predatory smile. Drone networks fully operational. Each pilot is successfully neural-linked to their assigned swarm. The quantum entanglement controls are responding perfectly. We can deploy the entire fleet with a thought. Through the quantum windows, Ghost could see the hegemony ships scrambling to combat formation. Their sensors must be overwhelming them with impossible data. Technology that shouldn't exist, defensive systems that defied their understanding of physics, and an enemy that had completely deceived their vaunted assessment protocols. Message from Admiral Thompson. Circuit reported. Phase 3 is complete. We're cleared to begin Phase 4, demonstration of capabilities. Ghost nodded, his neural interface connecting him to every weapons platform in the grid. Select a target. Something small enough not to provoke full retaliation, but significant enough to make them think twice. Circuit's consciousness flowed through the drone network, selecting a hegemony scout ship that had ventured too close to one of Earth's primitive stations. With a thought, she deployed a small drone swarm. The quantum-shifted fighters emerged from their dimensional pocket, surrounded the scout ship, and disabled its primary systems before its crew could even register the attack. Target neutralized, she reported. No casualties. Their ship is intact but completely powerless. The hegemony's command network is going berserk trying to figure out how we did it. Ghost watched the enemy fleet's reaction through the quantum feed. Their formations were tightening, weapons charging, but he could sense their uncertainty. Everything they thought they knew about Earth had just been proven wrong. Send the message we prepared, he ordered. Let's tell them exactly what they're dealing with. The transmission was short, direct, and calculated to shatter the Empire's confidence. The hegemony of 1,000 suns has made a categorical error in assessment. Earth is not your prey. We are not primitive. What you have seen until now was a mask, carefully crafted to deceive. Would you like to reconsider your terms? Above Earth, the Empire's mighty fleet faced a choice they'd never encountered before. Adapt to a completely unexpected situation, or learn the hard way that they weren't the most advanced civilization in the galaxy after all. The real battle was about to begin. General Emily Steele Parker stood before the massive doors of the hegemony's flagship council chamber, an old leather briefcase hanging from her right hand. The two honor guards towering over her exchanged confused glances. They'd expected Earth's representative to arrive with an entourage of advisors and a mountain of technical equipment. Instead, they got one human woman carrying what looked like an antique container. "You may enter," the guard announced in carefully translated English. "The High Council awaits." Emily stepped into the chamber, her quantum neural implants already mapping every detail of the room. The Council of Seven sat in elevated positions, their various alien forms illuminated by the starfield visible through the transparent ceiling. They'd designed this room to intimidate. Instead, it gave her exactly the backdrop she needed. "Honorable Council," she began, setting her briefcase on the presentation platform. "I bring you Project Lightweaver, humanity's counteroffer to your terms of surrender." The center counselor, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell, leaned forward. "Counteroffer? You misunderstand your position. The hegemony does not negotiate with." Emily clicked open the briefcase. A small device, no larger than a paperback book, floated out and oriented itself in the center of the chamber. Before the council could react, it activated. The starfield above them changed. Where moments before they'd seen the familiar patterns of local space, now they witnessed a cascading tunnel of light as the device created a stable wormhole right in the middle of their council chamber. "What you're seeing," Emily explained calmly, "is a quantum field manipulator. While your empire focused on brute force approaches to faster-than-light travel, we took a different path. This device doesn't just bend space. It rewrites the quantum foundation of reality itself." The seven counselors were silent, their attention fixed on the swirling portal above them. Through her neural interface, Emily could sense their guards' growing tension, their weapons systems powering up. The hegemony's FTL drives require massive energy expenditure and ships the size of small moons, she continued. "This device could fit in my pocket. And this," she gestured at the wormhole, "this is just a small demonstration of what it can do." The right counselor, a mechanoid entity, spoke in clipped tones. "Impossible. Our assessment showed your quantum technology was barely theoretical. Emily smiled. Your assessment showed exactly what we wanted it to show. Now, about that counteroffer. Humanity proposes a technology exchange. We share our quantum field manipulation technology, and in return, the hegemony recognizes Earth as an equal partner, not a subject world. Through the neural net, she received an update from Admiral Thompson. Hegemony command networks are in chaos. Multiple factions are already positioning themselves either for or against accepting the offer. Keep pushing. The center counselor's energy form flickered with what Emily's neural interface interpreted as agitation. The hegemony does not partner with lesser species, accept limitations on its expansion, change its ways. Emily interrupted, her voice carrying across the chamber. Then perhaps you should consider what happens when every ship in your fleet suddenly finds itself on the wrong side of a quantum field shift. Our technology doesn't just create wormholes, counselors. It can rewrite the basic rules of how matter interacts with space-time. She reached into the briefcase again and withdrew a data crystal. These are our terms. They're fair, reasonable, and mutually beneficial. They also happen to be non-negotiable. The council chamber erupted in overlapping alien languages as the seven argued among themselves. Emily's neural interface translated their security channels. Multiple factions were already mobilizing, some demanding immediate acceptance of Earth's offer, others calling for military action. You have 24 hours to decide, she announced, closing her briefcase. The wormhole above them sealed itself with a subtle pop. Choose wisely. Humanity would prefer to be your partners, but we're prepared to be your worst nightmare. As she turned to leave, the center counselor called out, "This changes nothing. The hegemony has faced technological surprises before. We have always won, always dominated, always had the upper hand." Emily paused at the door. "That was before you met us. Humanity doesn't play by your rules, counselors. We make our own." Behind her, the Council of Seven faced a choice they'd never encountered in their 1,000-year history: adapt to a new reality, or watch their empire crumble in the face of technology they couldn't control or comprehend. The clock was ticking. Captain Ryan Cipher Martins watched the quantum network display as it pulsed with countless new connections. Each light represented a civilization breaking free from the hegemony's communication stranglehold. From his command station aboard the stealth vessel Shadow Echo, he could see the Empire's grip loosening in real time. Another cluster just came online in the Orion Arm. Lieutenant Sarah Pulse Anderson reported, her neural interface processing the flood of incoming signals. The Arthosians have successfully implemented our quantum comm protocols. They're linking up with the Meridian worlds now. Ryan nodded, watching the network expand like a living thing. What's the count now? 73 species fully connected, another 38 coming online. The hegemony's trying to track down the source of the transmissions, but they can't even detect the quantum channels, let alone block them. Through his neural feed, Ryan received a priority message from Lieutenant Jessica Shadow Thompson. She'd infiltrated the Empire's central data hub 3 days ago, and her discoveries were still sending shockwaves through the Resistance network. "Cipher, you need to see this," her voice whispered directly into his mind. "I found their species acquisition protocols. Every civilization they've conquered, it was all based on a lie. They didn't just subjugate these worlds. They deliberately sabotaged their technological development." Ryan's hands tightened on his command chair. "Upload it to the network. Let everyone see." The quantum channels lit up as Jessica's data spread across the galaxy. The truth about the hegemony's rise to power, hidden for millennia, was finally exposed. Through the neural interface, Ryan could feel the reactions cascading through the network: shock, rage, and most importantly, hope. "Message from the Centaurian Resistance," Pulse announced. "They're requesting immediate technical support. Their orbital platforms are still under hegemony control. Send them the quantum shield specs," Ryan ordered, and get me a direct line to their leadership. The quantum display shifted, revealing the face of Centaurian resistance leader Catal. Like many subject species, the Centaurians had been forced to install the hegemony oversight systems in all their technology. Now they had a chance to break free. The files you sent. Catal's translated voice carried a mix of awe and disbelief. This quantum communication technology, it's beyond anything we imagined possible. That's because the hegemony made sure you never looked in that direction, Ryan explained. They've been steering technological development along predictable paths for centuries. Earth went unnoticed because we developed something completely different. Through the neural net, he received another priority alert from Shadow. Hegemony Command is falling into chaos. Their control systems relied on information superiority. Now they can't trust their own networks. Half their subject worlds are talking freely for the first time in generations. Ryan turned back to Catal. How long until you can implement the shield technology? Hours, maybe less. Our scientists are already reprogramming the orbital platforms. The hegemony overseers won't know what hit them. The quantum display suddenly blazed with new connections as an entire sector of space lit up. Pulse's eyes widened as she processed the data. The Arcturus Confederation just came online, all 12 worlds at once. They're broadcasting their declaration of independence on all frequencies, including the hegemony's own channels. Ryan allowed himself a grim smile. This was what Earth had planned for, not just resistance, but revolution. The Empire had spent centuries keeping its subject worlds isolated, dependent, and technologically stunted. Now those chains were breaking. One quantum connection at a time. Sir, Pulse called out, her voice tight with excitement. New message from Admiral Thompson. The hegemony's Council of Seven is demanding an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership. They're offering to negotiate. Through the neural interface, Ryan could feel the triumph rippling through Earth's forces. The empire that had never negotiated, never compromised, never treated any other species as equals, was finally beginning to crack. Send them our response, he ordered. Tell them we'll meet, and this time they'll find representatives from every liberated world sitting at the table with us. Above him, the quantum network continued to grow. Each new connection another crack in the hegemony's foundation. They had built their empire on controlled communication and enforced isolation. Now they watched helplessly as Earth's technology turned their own subject worlds into a united force they couldn't control or suppress. The silent revolution was winning without firing a shot. Colonel David Thunder Roberts watched the quantum tactical display as 10,000 hegemony warships tore through hyperspace toward Earth. The massive invasion fleet filled the virtual landscape like a swarm of angry hornets, their energy signatures burning bright against the void. They've committed their entire third fleet, his XO reported from the bridge of the ESS Defiant. Largest concentration of hegemony forces ever recorded in a single system. Thunder allowed himself a small smile. Guess we got their attention. Admiral Thompson, the board is set. Admiral Thompson's hologram materialized on the bridge, her quantum projected form as clear as if she were standing there. Status of the defense grid. Quantum shield network is primed and synchronized. All dimensional shift platforms are ready. Strike groups are in position, though the hegemony still thinks we only have a handful of ships. The enemy fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect attack formation, their massive dreadnoughts leading the charge. For a moment, the space around Earth seemed to shimmer with their arrival. 10,000 ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They're broadcasting, Thunder's communications officer announced. The Grand Admiral demands our immediate surrender. Says they'll spare Earth's civilian population if we stand down now. Thunder exchanged looks with Admiral Thompson's hologram. Should we show them what they're really dealing with? She nodded. Execute Thunder Dance Protocol. Let's give them a demonstration of actual quantum warfare. Thunder's neural interface connected him directly to Earth's defense network. Through the quantum link, he could feel every ship, every weapons platform, every dimensional pocket where their true forces waited. With a thought, he initiated the protocol. The hegemony fleet opened fire, their energy weapons lighting up space, only to watch in confusion as their attacks passed harmlessly through Earth's seemingly primitive defense screens. The quantum shields didn't just block their weapons, they redirected the energy into pocket dimensions. Strike groups 1 through 5, emerge and engage, Thunder ordered. Space itself rippled as Earth's hidden fleet revealed itself. Ships appeared from nowhere, existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Each human vessel seemed to be in 3 or 4 places at once, making targeting impossible. The hegemony's front line broke in confusion. Their sensors couldn't lock onto ships that existed partially in other dimensions, and their weapons couldn't penetrate shields that bent reality itself. They're trying to adapt, Thunder's tactical officer reported. Their Grand Admiral is ordering a full-spread attack pattern. Perfect, Thunder smiled. Spring the trap. The quantum defense grid activated its final protocol. Dimensional pockets opened throughout the hegemony fleet, splitting their formation into isolated clusters. Earth's ships, synchronized through their neural interfaces, struck with surgical precision. First wave disabled, his XO announced. No casualties. Quantum field disruptors worked exactly as planned. Their ships are intact but powerless. Through the neural net, Thunder could feel the coordination of Earth's forces. Every captain, every crew member, linked in a seamless network that made them act as one. The hegemony's numerical advantage meant nothing against opponents they couldn't properly target or engage. Their Grand Admiral is pulling back the dreadnoughts, Tactical reported. They're trying to regroup for a concentrated strike. Let them. Admiral Thompson's hologram commanded. Activate the dimensional corridor. The space between Earth and the hegemony fleet suddenly shifted. A massive quantum field manipulation created a corridor of altered spacetime, trapping their ships in a region where their engines couldn't function properly. Message from their flagship, communications called out. The Grand Admiral is requesting a ceasefire. Thunder watched through the quantum display as the mighty hegemony fleet hung helpless in space, their weapons useless, their ships unable to maneuver effectively. The empire that had conquered 1,000 worlds had just discovered what it meant to fight an enemy who had completely redefined the rules of warfare. Send our response, Admiral Thompson ordered. Tell them that Earth accepts their surrender, and that representatives from all their former subject worlds will be present at the peace negotiations. The battle that would become known as the Thunder Dance was over. The hegemony had brought overwhelming force to crush a supposedly primitive world. Instead, they'd learned that numbers and brute force meant nothing against an enemy who could manipulate the fabric of reality itself. Earth hadn't just won a battle. They'd changed the fundamental nature of warfare and the galaxy forever. Major Lisa Phoenix Reynolds stood in the Quantum Command Center aboard the ESS Liberation, watching the galactic map as system after system declared independence from the hegemony. Each new point of light represented another world breaking free, another civilization reclaiming its destiny. The Proxima cluster just went dark to hegemony control. Her tactical officer reported. Their quantum shields are up, and they're broadcasting on our secure channels. That makes 17 major systems in the last 6 hours. Through her neural interface, Lisa monitored the encrypted feeds from resistance leaders across the galaxy. The hegemony's defeat at Earth had shattered their aura of invincibility. Now, with humanity freely sharing their quantum technology, the Empire's iron grip was failing everywhere at once. Message from the Arcturus Liberation Front, her communications officer announced. They've successfully reprogrammed their orbital defense grid using our protocols. The hegemony garrison tried to respond, but their weapons couldn't penetrate the quantum shields. Lisa allowed herself a small smile. Send them the next package. Full specs for quantum communication arrays. Let's make sure they can coordinate with neighboring systems. The neural feed suddenly lit up with priority alerts. Through the quantum network, she could feel the surge of activity from Earth's diplomatic corps. Dr. Mitchell's voice came through, tight with excitement. "Phoenix, we've got movement from the core worlds. The hegemony's own colony systems are starting to rebel. They've seen what happened at Earth, and they're realizing the Empire isn't as strong as they thought." On the tactical display, the hegemony's territory was shrinking by the hour. Their mighty fleets, once the terror of the galaxy, found themselves unable to maintain control over dozens of fronts simultaneously. Every time they moved to suppress one uprising, 3 more systems would activate their new quantum defenses and declare independence. New transmission from Admiral Thompson, her XO reported. The hegemony's military command structure is fragmenting. Regional commanders are refusing orders from the Council of 7. Some are even offering to defect. Lisa opened a secure channel to Earth Command. "Admiral, how do you want us to handle potential defectors?" Admiral Thompson's hologram materialized on the bridge, her expression determined. "Verify their intentions, then share the basic quantum defense packages. We want them protecting their own systems, not trying to maintain the Empire's control." Through the neural net, Lisa received a sudden burst of data from the quantum monitoring array. "Admiral, you need to see this. The hegemony's capital world, their quantum suppression field just failed. Their own people are accessing the free information networks for the first time." The tactical display updated, showing the cascade of changes rippling through the Empire's seat of power. Centuries of carefully controlled information were breaking down as citizens gained access to unrestricted quantum communications. Message from their inner council, communications announced. They're requesting immediate ceasefire negotiations, not just with Earth, with all former subject worlds. Lisa watched as the map continued to change. The once mighty hegemony was dissolving, not through military defeat, but through the simple power of open communication and shared technology. Earth hadn't just beaten them in battle. They'd shown the galaxy a completely different way of existing. "Admiral," she said, studying the tactical feeds, "we're getting reports of hegemony peacekeepers standing down across multiple sectors. Their command structure can't maintain control without their information monopoly." Admiral Thompson's hologram nodded. The Empire was built on controlled communication and enforced isolation. Once we broke that system, it was only a matter of time. Humanity didn't just develop better weapons. We created something they never imagined possible. True technological freedom. The neural net buzzed with another priority alert. The Council of 7, the very heart of the hegemony's power, was announcing its own dissolution. After 10,000 years of absolute rule, they'd finally encountered something they couldn't control or suppress: the unstoppable spread of liberating ideas. "Send word to all resistance groups," Admiral Thompson ordered. "The war is over. The Empire has fallen. Now the real work begins, helping these worlds build something better in its place." Above them, the quantum network continued to expand, connecting newly freed worlds in ways the hegemony had never allowed. The galaxy was transforming, not through conquest, but through the simple power of shared knowledge and unrestricted communication. The empire that had ruled 1,000 suns had finally met its match, not in superior firepower, but in humanity's gift for turning technology into freedom. Admiral Victoria "Vix" Thompson stood at the viewport of the ESS Democracy's observation deck, watching as ships from 100 different species moved through the quantum-enhanced space around Earth. 5 years had passed since the hegemony's fall, and the galaxy had transformed in ways even she hadn't imagined possible. "The Arcturus delegation has arrived," her aide announced, "and the Centaurian ships are right behind them. We're just waiting on the Meridian representatives to complete the inaugural council." Vix nodded, her neural interface providing real-time updates on the gathering. The Democracy, Earth's newest flagship, had been designed specifically for this moment. The formal establishment of the Galactic Cooperative. Its quantum-shifted spaces could accommodate representatives from every known spacefaring species, a physical symbol of the new order they were building. Message from Council Chair Martinez. The aide continued. "She's ready to begin the ceremony whenever you are." Through the quantum network, Vix could feel the excitement rippling through the assembled species. Many of them had been bitter enemies under the hegemony's rule, forced to compete for the Empire's favor. Now they were coming together as equals, united by shared technology and open communication. The observation deck's doors whispered open as Rebecca Horizon Martinez entered, her formal diplomatic uniform adorned with the new symbol of the cooperative, a quantum-linked network of stars. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Rebecca said, joining Vix at the viewport. 5 years ago, these species couldn't even talk to each other without hegemony permission. Now look at them. The space around Earth had become a testament to their success. Ships of every size and design moved in carefully coordinated patterns, their quantum drives allowing them to navigate shared spaces with perfect precision. Research vessels from formerly hostile species worked side by side, sharing discoveries that the hegemony had suppressed for centuries. The final technology exchange treaties are ready for ratification, Rebecca reported. Every member world will have full access to quantum shield technology, dimensional shifting, and neural interface systems. The days of technological suppression are over. Vix's neural feed lit up with a priority message. Dr. James Mitchell's hologram appeared beside them, his familiar Wyoming charm unchanged by the years. "Ladies, you're not going to believe this," he said, grinning. The archaeological team on the former hegemony capital just found their original historical archives. Turns out they weren't always the empire we knew. They used to be explorers, innovators, until their leadership became obsessed with control and dominance. History has a way of repeating itself, Vix mused, unless someone comes along and changes the pattern. The democracy's quantum sensors detected new arrivals, ships from the former hegemony core worlds, now equal members of the cooperative. Their designs had already begun to change, incorporating shared technology in ways their former masters would never have allowed. "It's time," Rebecca said, checking the quantum feed. "The inaugural council is ready to begin." The observation deck transformed around them, quantum fields reshaping space to accommodate representatives from every member world. Beings of all forms took their places: energy constructs, crystalline entities, organic and synthetic life forms that the hegemony had kept apart for millennia. Vix stepped forward to address them, her words carried through quantum channels to every corner of known space. 5 years ago, Earth faced a choice: submit to empire or show the galaxy a different way. We chose to share rather than dominate, to connect rather than control. Today, we take the next step together. Through the neural net, she could feel the response. Billions of beings across thousands of worlds, united not by force but by choice. The hegemony had ruled through fear and isolation. The cooperative would thrive through cooperation and shared growth. "The empire that once ruled 1,000 suns is gone," she continued. "In its place, we build something unprecedented. A galaxy where every species can reach its full potential, where technology serves freedom rather than suppression, where innovation knows no bounds." Rebecca took her place at the council's center, the first leader of this new galactic order. Around her, representatives from worlds that had never known freedom under the hegemony prepared to chart their own course together. The galaxy had changed forever. The empire that thought it could never be challenged had fallen not to superior weapons, but to a simple truth. Real power comes not from control, but from connection. Earth hadn't just broken an empire. They'd shown the galaxy how to build something better in its place. Above them, the quantum network pulsed with endless possibility, a testament to humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy: the power to choose their own destiny.